job interview is one of the most anxiety-provoking situations most people can find themselves in, even when they go to plan. But what happens when you have your worst interview ever? Our guests share their worst interviews ever in the hope that you will take something from their mistakes to have a more successful interview outcome. Some of the stories are horrific and some are just downright embarrassing. Let's join our host, Kevin O'Reilly, the interview skills coach with over 25 years' experience in the fields of coaching and recruitment. Let's welcome our guests to the show.
Today we have on the show Nuala O'Connor, owner of Retuning Me. She is a kinesiologist, coach, speaker, and author of Tap into Success, where she walks you through her own tapping system to reduce stress and raise your vibrations of success. Nuala, you're very welcome onto the show today.
Thank you, Kevin. Good to be here.
And it's great to have you. Where do we find you today, Nuala?
I'm in Dublin, Ireland.
Oh, lovely. What's it like there today?
Weather-wise,
Yeah.
typical Irish weather, I would say. Not
Yeah.
any sunshine, cloudy and grey.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar as I look out my own window right now. It's exactly that. But I can add the rain and the wind on top of that as well.
That's there too.
I think a lot of our listeners, based on our prior conversations, are going to get a lot out of our discussion today. You have quite a vast experience and you have quite different viewpoints on different things, which is fantastic. But before we get into all of this, okay, explain a little more about the tapping system that you've developed and what you've written about, because there'll be lots of people out there that'll not know what that means. So I would like to help them understand that a little better.
Okay. So tapping worked so well for me. And if people don't understand what tapping is, I'm talking about a system where you tap on specific meridian points around your face, forehead, face, torso, and hands to bring about, to de-stress, to take the energy out of the trauma or the stressor. So you basically can get to live your best life. That's my words. And tapping worked so well for me back about, at least 10 years ago, that it literally took away non-trigger panic attacks with lasting effect. And being a kinesiologist and an energist at the time, well, I like to give my clients the best. So anything that works really well for me, I have a habit of going and training in that, qualifying in that, getting to know it really well, and then giving that to my clients or offering them the opportunity to come experience that. So that's what my intention had been with EFT tapping. And it was all going very well until one day I had this thought: why are we tapping the same point on both sides of the body? Why aren't we tapping the two meridians that go together? And for people who don't know what meridians are, they have been proven by medicine they're in the body, and we have 14 main ones, 12 of which go down both sides of your body, and 2 are in the middle. And those meridians are like brother and sister meridians. They're called the yin yang of each other, and they help regulate certain neurotransmitters in your body. For example, believe it or not, the kidney and the bladder, they help regulate serotonin levels in the body. That's kinesiology talk coming in on tapping, and that's what I did. I married my kinesiology and meridian theory that I know, my training, with tapping, and I created a system where you do tap the yin yang meridians together in a certain order to help balance out those yin yang meridians, which in turn theoretically balances out your neurotransmitters. And of course, when your neurotransmitters are balanced, your hormones are balanced. Yeah.
Oh, so that makes sense.
Yeah. So the book Tap into Success literally is taking people step by step. Begin by writing out all the things you think about yourself that are negative and others, because they're normally the ones. You might think, well, I don't think anything negative about myself, but I can't stand your one. And
Are you
I
looking into
all,
my mind, Nuala? How are you?
yeah. So, and that's what I get people to do, write them out, and then I get them to rate those thoughts to find which ones are the deepest or the most negative. And I get people to do that on the scale of progress, as I call it, where I get them to say a -5 thought, somewhere in between -5 and 0. So they're negative thoughts, and you're rating them, -5 being the worst ones that really have energy. And then 0 is neutral. So if something is a thought that you have, but it's in a neutral space, well, it's not probably one of your deep seated negative
Mm,
ones. And then if you have thoughts that are on the positive side, they don't tend to be negative, full stop, if they're 0 to +5. But my hope is to get people so when you write out all the negative ones, you rate them, you give them a number, and then you pick one. And when you're starting off tapping, I always recommend you pick one in the middle, one at the top. Not too hard. You don't want to get into deep, deep stuff too quick. And when people start to tap then on that and they go through the process, they tend to realize, oh my gosh, this stuff actually works. But it doesn't work at a what I find from the two meridian tapping is, sometimes when people go into energy work or they do something, if they're not grounded in it, they tend to go from a negative space to a very high space and they don't trust that space. And so they
mm,
end up coming out of it. They'll nearly sabotage. Whereas my process is about offering people something that's rounded and grounded
mm-hmm.
that keeps us in this place where we are neither, because a neurotransmitter or a meridian can be out that it leaves you too high, like anxiety,
Okay.
or that it leaves you too low, like depression.
Okay.
So I'm trying to bring people to neither high nor low.
So a nice balance.
Rounded and grounded is what I call it.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Rounded and grounded. I might borrow that from you with pride. Or as I like to say, I'm going to steal that with pride.
Steal up with pride.
Okay. That's wonderful. And I hope that gives our listeners a bit of an understanding of what tapping is. But also, you're bringing together lots of different disciplines into this
Mm,
one, Retuning Me. And
mm.
it sounds like you're a student of studying successful behaviors with regards to the tapping, the kinesiology. You're taking all of the best of all of the best and pulling it together.
That's exactly that sums it up, Kevin. Very good. In a nutshell, anything that has worked for me or works for my clients, I tend to focus on and even, in a sense, retune even further. I would even say the tapping system is like a bringing together of lots of stuff. I can't say it's even just marrying the kinesiology theory and the meridian theory with the tapping theory and practice. It's more than that because I can't say anything I haven't been through or anything I haven't trained in isn't also affecting, because everything affects
Mm,
everything.
yeah,
Everything impacts everything, and that's negative and positive. And
yeah.
so, like you said, retuning me, what is it about? Well, it's about literally, we are vibrational beings. That has been scientifically proven. That is a truth. And the good news about being a vibrational being is vibrations can be retuned and tuned. I play a guitar. I'm tuning it all the time because even sitting in a room, if the room's too hot, too cold, it can knock the strings out. Well,
Mm,
we're exactly the same. If we get too hot or too cold, or get annoyed or angry or overstressed, we get knocked out of tune. And the good news is we can be put back into tune. And the bad news is we can also be put back into tune by things that we don't want to be in tune to,
Like an interview,
like an interview,
just
like
like
the
you said.
stress. Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Because what happens there, you see, when you get stressed, and stress can be a good thing, but when we get overstressed, and that tends to be what happens when we sit down or even getting to the interview, whatever's going on, and that's the trick. When you get overstressed, you're not rounded and grounded. You get thrown back into the negative, subconscious, automatic thoughts that are in there that tell you you're not good enough and tell you, oh my gosh, who am I thinking that I can do this? Self-sabotage and all of that stuff comes up. And then you're sitting in front of somebody and you feel like you're five.
Mm, indeed, indeed, and I hear that quite often. Actually, I don't think I'm good enough
Mm,
scenario. It doesn't come out in those words, it comes out in the
No,
behaviors.
absolutely. And also when you think about it though, like it's not a now script because you know
Mm.
you're qualified. You know
Yeah.
you're experienced. It's not logical.
Yeah.
It's a then script. It's something from your past that
Yeah.
has popped back up again. And because you're stressed, you have no control over that really. Because the logical thinking brain gets shut off the access to that. The blood goes for the limbic,
Mm.
subconscious, automatic thoughts that have pulled you out of danger before. That's where you go. But in there are all these other thoughts as well.
The very unhelpful ones. And
Yes.
just to pick up on what you had said there, just about the past,
Mm.
I'd love for you to sort of highlight a little bit of your career journey so far and how you've got to where you are, Nuala, if you wouldn't mind.
It's varied and varied. It's like myself, it's creative. Um, well, I come from a teaching background. I come also, and I suppose I say this because I have to honor that I come from the north of Ireland. And so I come with the trauma of that experience because I was born in 1968. And for people who don't know, 1968 was a pretty traumatic time for a lot of Catholic families in the north of Ireland.
Mm.
And so it's only now, through all the work I've done, that I can say I was born into fear and anxiety
Mm.
at that time. It was in the environment, it was in the energy. So go on and go on in life. I actually was a religious sister of mercy for a number of years, and it was there that I did a lot of youth work and community work in different parts of Belfast and trained to be a teacher,
Mm.
primary school teacher, and taught in some schools in Northern Ireland, but ended up coming out of education because not my main thesis, but my second, no, my main thesis was the Sisters of Mercy in education and do we meet the need? What I was saying there was that as Sisters of Mercy, who were founded to help people on the fringes and people who were struggling, there was no need for us to be teachers in classrooms anymore because there was a very good education system now.
Mm.
And so we needed to be helping people in other ways, still around education, but not sitting in a classroom teaching. We needed to be working with the people who were at risk of falling out of school, who were already out of school, who were disrupting, who just needed a lot more before they could ever sit down in a classroom and focus. There were so many other needs that needed to be met first. So I came out of education pretty quickly and went into youth and community work where I lived and started working with youth groups and community groups trying to help bring things together. And and then I got sick. I should have stayed in school because the need was so great in education or not in education, not in formal education, but in informal education. The need was so great at the community level. The need was so great, and I thought I could meet it for everybody,
Mm.
and it turned out no, I couldn't.
Mm.
So that led me because I got sick. Doctors took bloods, nothing was working. They could tell me everything was low, nothing was dangerously low, and it took them a good 6 to 8 months before they actually gave me a diagnosis, which was that I had a post viral illness and we'll keep working on that. And
Mm.
at this point, I was very distressed because here I was, should have been in the prime of my life, doing this, wanting to do this work. And I was very depressed because I couldn't get up. I was in pain all the time. I couldn't eat. Everything was just running through me. I was good. And all they kept saying was rest, eat, sleep. I'm saying, you're not getting me, are
Repeat.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't working because I was overstressed. I know that now. And it was a reflexologist I was going to in Belfast who was also an occupational therapist. And she said, have you ever heard of kinesiology? And that was the turning point for me. And kinesiology worked so well for me that I went and trained in it. The rest is sort of history. I ended up back in education, formal education, because I moved to the south of Ireland. That was part of my recovery from the illness, basically, to get out of the north, to give me the space to retune, for want of a better way of putting it. And when I did that, when I left the north of Ireland, I actually realized, what have I energy for anymore? And do I have energy for this way of life? And do I have energy? And everything was going wrong within the church at that time as well. And I suppose I also woke up in myself at that time. Sometimes when you get ill, you tend to wake up and realize that I was gay. And so to be gay in the church, well, that was a totally different situation. And I wasn't willing to settle for that sort of judgmental system. So I left religious life and ventured back into school to support myself, because I was moving to Dublin and starting off again. So good salary, good base, and then built back up my practice. And as I said, trained in other things: kinesiology, reflexology, energy coning, coaching, law of attraction, you name it. I've done a lot of it. Reiki, integrated energy therapy, because they all helped me on that journey.
Yeah,
And
we are the sum of our parts, aren't we?
oh, absolutely, absolutely. And when you put the sum of the parts together, you create an amazing whole that's totally different. And so I did call my business Kinesiology for You at one point, but that didn't sum up what I was offering. And
Yeah,
so offering people the opportunity to retune, because that's what I offered myself.
yeah.
I showed up and became my own best friend. I listened, even though it was very hard to take on board what my body and everything else was saying, what I was hearing. I did. I took it all on board and stepped out, and here I am.
Wow, wow. That is quite, as you said, creative, varied story. That is fantastic. And thank you very much for sharing that. There
No
is, what
problem.
I'm taking away from that is just courage. The courage to be authentically you at all
Mm,
times.
yeah.
Because
Isn't
that
that
was
the
a very different,
challenge?
yeah, that was a very, very difficult situation to find yourself in.
Mm,
In the Catholic Church, sick, and then coming to the realization that you were also gay
mm,
and making then a life-changing decision. But I almost understand why you moved away from
mm,
that. And it's almost like that's where the that's what the issues and challenges are. And so I'm just going to leave them there and I'm going to go somewhere else
mm.
and then
I
start
think
again.
if you take the whole thing of retuning again and the energy in the environment, if I'd stayed in that environment, the vibration wouldn't have changed, because
Okay.
it was the vibration of the environment that I had to get out of to allow myself to even hear my own vibration,
Mm,
and then work on that. And I would always say to people, you see, we wake up every day and we have an opportunity to set the vibrational frequency for our day,
mm.
and we have the opportunity not to.
It's a
And it,
choice, isn't
exactly, and it's the choice we make will decide then how our day goes. It's like that thing of, oh, good morning, or good God, it's morning.
it?
You know, good morning, you open yourself to the day and you set the frequency, whether it's, I truly am grateful. And I love putting the word truly into a statement, because, or a script, because that's your truth. That's what you want
Mm,
to be your truth for the day. So even if you're not fully feeling it, that old saying, fake it till you make it, is actually true, because you're literally retuning your frequency.
mm.
I truly am grateful. I truly am blessed. Even though I have an ache and a pain, and name where it is right this very second, I truly am okay.
And I would actually take that one step forward with regards to what you're saying about this, the pain. If I do have pains, I'm almost thankful that I have those pains because I'm still alive to feel those
Mm,
pains. So
mm,
that's almost that next, for me, that's that next step almost to say, well, I'm alive so I can feel it. If I didn't
mm,
feel it, I wouldn't be here.
mm,
So it's almost like that little wake up for me sometimes when I get that pain. It's like, that's okay. You're alive. Some people would love to have a pain in their leg because they would still be
mm.
alive. And that's sort of the sort of behavior and attitude that I sort of come from, and that thought
Yeah.
process around it.
Yeah. And I suppose take that on again after you acknowledge that, then it's a case of inviting that pain then to move on.
Yes.
We don't need to be
Yeah.
in pain.
No.
It's good to help us remember something and move on
Yeah. Yeah.
rather than stay in it.
I tell you, the variation of your past life, what we'll call it,
Mm.
must have been a great teacher in the
Oh,
sense of it must have
absolutely.
taught you so much.
Absolutely. To the point, and I do talk about this. I talk about it in groups. I was suicidal. I
Yeah.
was absolutely, I couldn't probably go any lower. And at that point, had anybody told me that I was going to discover I was gay and I was going to leave religious life, I probably would have been hanging from a tree because I couldn't have faced anything at that point. But it came gradually, gently, as I stayed with it, and that's the courage. That's the part.
Yeah.
It's to listen and stay with yourself in that darkness, knowing that the light will come. I during that time, I was still in religious life, and I spent a year in All Hallows. It's a Vincentian college. It's no longer open here in the south of Ireland, in Dublin. And I did a course on pastoral leadership because congregation had all these great hopes I was going to get better and go into a new field and whatever. And I did a piece. We had to do a sort of like a long study piece, and no more than the first piece that took me out of education. The piece I did here was on the seasons of life and the seasons in
Mm.
nature, and how one can really help you with the other. For example, day always follows night.
Yeah.
Summer and spring and summer come after winter,
Yeah.
and winter will come after summer. It's cyclical. It does pass.
Yeah.
We just got to go with it and understand that it's the ebb and flow. And we're
Yeah.
part of this. We're in this vibrational universal frequency, and just go with the flow and
Hmm.
acknowledge things and work with things. And you're right. That if somebody had told me I would think this way back then, not a hope, because I wasn't in the space then to think it.
Yeah.
But as you say, having come through it all, having walked through it all, cried through it all, colored through it all, danced through it all, slept through some of it, it's not nice,
Yeah.
but it is the essence. And now when people come here, I get feedback from clients that say, "Oh my God, like I feel listened to,
Yeah.
I feel heard. You get it." You get what I'm saying. And I know when I say things to people, I can see them looking at me going, yeah, but equally, I don't have to rescue anybody anymore. Like back
Hmm.
then when I was doing that work, I thought I was going to rescue everybody in the north of Belfast. Like I was going to pull them out of
Hmm.
all the trauma and all the stuff that was going on. Not a hope. I had to pull me out.
Yeah.
I had to go in there, but I couldn't just pull me out. I had to go in there and acknowledge and sit
Yeah.
and be. Now, what I've realized since is that can be done an awful lot quicker now than what
It
I did
can.
it back then because there weren't the same therapies. Like kinesiology wasn't really talked about back then. It wasn't even hardly known.
Yeah.
Tapping was only in its infancy back then. Now it's because of the internet and people's testimonials. It's a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
So combine these things. They weren't like when you put all of these things together and all of these therapies together, you can affect change an awful lot quicker. That's what I've discovered. When people are ready for that change.
Well, that's it, isn't it? If I'm a great believer in you can lead the horse to water, but you
Mm,
can't make it drink. And
no.
it's only when people are ready to make that change, and I do find that with my own clients when they come for support and guidance and help, some of them actually don't want it.
Mm,
They
no.
think they want it,
Mm,
but they actually don't want it because they have to do something, and
yeah.
then that becomes, oh, I thought you were going to do it all for me, and you were going
Yeah.
to give me this magic pill, and I was just going to go away, and I was going to be the best interview candidate in the world and get every job that I went for, but
Yeah.
they didn't realize they had to do a little bit of work themselves.
Oh, absolutely. There is no magic pill. I
No.
say that to people all the time. I'd say if you honestly think you're going to go somewhere and get a pill for all your ills, good luck. Best of luck with it. There is no magic pill. There is your vibrational frequency and the opportunity and the ability to work on changing that.
Yeah. And I think just again listening to your story, you sound like you're a very valued based person. And
Mm,
there must be one particular value that you have that, let's say for example you were sitting on an interview panel waiting for
mm.
someone to come back in, that you would go, that's the person I want because of this value.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
sort of value is that?
Integrity, I would say.
Well,
I think integrity is paramount. Authenticity, and I see authenticity as being that. Integrity and authenticity sort of go hand in hand. If you're an authentic person, I was doing something the other day at an event and I was chair of a contest, and somebody came up to me at the end and put his hand out to shake my hand. Hadn't a clue who this person was. And he said, I like your authenticity,
hmm,
your normalness, you draw people out in a conversation. It didn't phase you that somebody tried to stop you, or said something that would block a conversation or whatever. You found another way round that allowed the person to share whatever. And I that to me didn't matter that the contest went really well. It didn't matter. It's the feedback like that that affirms
hmm,
I'm being my authentic self. I'm I like to be my authentic self. And
hmm,
if people find that difficult, and people do, because sometimes the more authentic we are, that challenges a lot of people who aren't their
yeah.
authentic selves. And so when somebody comes into an interview and just says straight up, I had the worst day getting here, I sit up, go, oh, good.
So
And you know
honestly,
that question in an interview where you ask somebody, you know, um, so have you any questions for us? Or is there anything you'd like to share? Or tell us what's your most negative point. And the ones who've got the cliched one
hmm,
liner off, and you sort of go, oh, here we go. you know Whereas the person who goes, oh my god, you really want me to tell you my worst experience, like no more than this podcast, my worst interview ever? And they go, well, if I'm totally honest, and then they share it, and you go, yeah,
yeah.
there's somebody who's willing to risk being vulnerable to show you they've got it together.
So is that what you would consider to be integrity and authenticity? Is that sort of vulnerability to be
Mm,
themselves? But
absolutely.
do you know what? I'm going to go
But
one
in a
step further and say
grounded way.
the courage to be
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah. Courage is another good word for it. But it's a grounded way. You see, there's just too many people out there who say the right thing and do the right thing to see can they get somebody else's approval.
Hmm.
And that's where the retuning needs to happen again, to bring the word back in again, because I don't need your approval. I do need your job.
Yes.
And I have a skill set that might meet your need. And at this interview, I've got the skill set because you've read my resume. You've given me the interview. You're looking to see, can I fit into your team? And have I got something that you're looking for? Like you said, the value.
Yeah.
You're looking for that. And it's not about a financial value, because on paper this person has met those criteria, or you wouldn't have them sitting in front of you right now.
That's it. Yeah, they make those technical skills. They have the experience that you want. They meet the criteria. And as I always say to people, it is that gets you to the interview, but it's your soft skills and your delivery that gets you the job.
Oh, absolutely. And the ability to be yourself and not
Absolutely.
get rocked by a question that they're giving you to rock you,
Yeah.
to see how you react.
Yeah.
There is that person on the panel who's been given the task to throw in the wobbler.
Yeah. So if you were to, let's say you were on the panel and you had two almost identical people who same experience, same skill sets. And I know that's a bit
Mm.
far-fetched to think that, but we always come to this decision where there's two really good candidates and one of them has to get the job. We can't give them to both. So the integrity and authenticity, yes, they both have that and it both stands out. What else are you looking for? What else would you say if one of them had this and the other one didn't? Yeah, we're going with that one that did. So what is that you might what's the word you might call that? What is that thing they might have?
Well, you see, I don't honestly know. Can that be spoken in words, Kevin?
Mm,
I think that's the bit that connects. That's the energy.
okay,
You attract to somebody and you don't to another.
okay.
And you can say, yes, I attract to people who are authentic, but the vibration, the fire, the spark, it's just the person. And if you have two equally people who are doing that, well, then it's probably going to be down to somebody else on the panel to make the final decision, because I would be saying, these two people I bring to the table. Now you're going to have to look at the technical side to see which one really suits your needs, because I think both
Mm,
of these people are equally ready for your organization, are able to do what you're asking them to do, and have integrity and honesty. I would then be turning to the panel and saying, which one will go that extra mile for you guys in relation to the workload? Does that
mm,
make sense?
okay.
Or
Yes, it
if I'm
does.
the
It
one
does.
looking at the work side, I would be saying, okay, so which one has it professionally now? Because they have it every other way. But
Yeah.
I don't look at the professional side. I know
Yeah.
they've got
Okay.
that, or they wouldn't be sitting in front of me. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't even focus on that really. It's what I see when they sit in front of me. Are they
Okay.
grounded? Can they sit in the chair and look me in the eye and talk to me and not baffle me with something that we'll not mention, because baffle me with words that
Yeah.
are just coming from a page somewhere that they've learnt off.
Yeah. And I think that even comes back then to being authentic.
Yes.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
okay. We can go out and we can learn the criteria and we can learn
Yeah.
the phrases and wording that is specific to that industry and we can talk that language and that's okay. That's
Mm.
fine. But you mentioned there about eye contact, sitting on that chair and giving that eye contact. That seems to be a real challenge for lots of people nowadays. Some more so than others. And it seems to be one of those things that unconsciously people are now starting to pick up. They go, there's something about that person I really liked, but I just can't put my finger on it.
Mm.
And when we actually start peeling away the layers of what that is, a lot of times it's just that eye contact and that building of rapport through
Mm.
the eye contact, through the smiling,
Yeah.
that makes such a big, huge difference because then it's very difficult to lie when you're smiling and when through your eyes. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying it's very difficult for a normal person to do that. Because if they're looking at you and they're smiling and they're talking and they look and feel comfortable, then that feels like an authentic person who has integrity.
If they're doing all those things to a question that would require that response. But if you ask them a more serious question and they start talking about something in their lives that maybe was a struggle, like what's the hardest thing you've had to deal with in your life?
Mm.
And they start talking about that and they're smiling at you and looking at you and going, no, because it was hard. So show me, like, if it was really hard, well, then it's going to affect you. Even though you've dealt with it maybe and you're through it, you're still going to show me that little. That's what I call the sincerity and the integrity,
Mm.
because it's not that you're going to break down and cry in front of me. No, not expecting that. But I see in your face that this has been tough
Yeah,
and you're through it and you acknowledge that.
there's a truth in that.
Yes, there's an authenticity in that.
Yes. And
There's
that seems to
integrity
be
in that.
that seems to be the sort of the golden thread of this
Yeah,
conversation with regards to that value that you obviously hold very dear to yourself as well, that integrity and authenticity. And that comes through with the decisions you made in your life and throughout your life. That has come through very clearly. And
yeah.
that is something obviously that drives you as much as it drives me. That is my core value. Uh, Integrity is my core value. I say what I do and I do what I say. And it's as
Mm,
simple as that. And
yeah,
if I can't do it, I'll say I can't do it.
yeah,
But I'll go on and find out someone who can so they can help
yeah.
me. That is it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that's the same with interviews as well. And I think people believe that they have to do all of this by themselves. And they have to learn by themselves, and they have to go by themselves, and they have to pick themselves up, and they have to pick their clothes, and so on and so forth. It's, it takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a lot of people to put you into that position where you are comfortable going in to do what
Mm.
you really want to do, which is
Mm.
go for the job that you desire, go for the career that you really want. And I tend to find that there's a lot of people nowadays that don't actually go for those jobs. They go out of fear and necessity as opposed to want and desire. And that's hard to show up with authenticity if you actually really don't want that job, but you have to have that job because bills need to be paid. And I get that
Mm.
and I understand that. But as an interviewer myself who sits on many panels, I can feel it. And we're talking about these feelings, this energy. I can feel their energy, whether that be that it's very, very low, that you can feel that they actually don't really want to be there. And I do give consideration for nervousness and embarrassment and everything else within the room, and not knowing anything, and the fear of failure and fear of looking stupid. I get all of that. However, if they go the opposite way, like you said, and they're really over enthusiastic when it should be a serious moment of a serious question, you feel it. It's just a
Mm.
feeling you get, and that's at a subconscious level.
Oh, absolutely.
You just feel it, and
You do.
but there's so many people. You and I will pick it up and understand exactly what it is because that's what we're trained in. However, there are so many individuals out there who are on interview panels who will go, there was just, there was something about that. I don't know what it was. But I didn't like
Mm.
it, but I just come up with my finger on it. And there's
Yeah.
people that are listening to this right now who have said this about people in the past. There's just something about that person I don't like, but I can't put my finger on it. That's the subconscious. They have seen this before. The subconscious has seen this before,
Mm.
but they can't put a word to it or a
Yeah.
feeling to it or an explanation to it. You just know there is
Yeah.
something. That is that gut feeling almost.
Yeah.
It's that gut feeling. And you do have to listen to that gut feeling. It's there for a reason. It's there to keep us safe.
Mm.
However, it's hard to put a word to that. And
And
that's the challenge.
isn't it also about trusting that gut feeling?
Yes.
As you said, it's there to keep you safe. It's letting you know. I often, when I give talks to women's groups, women's sheds, particular any group, I will often say to them, when I'm explaining energy, did you ever sit down beside somebody and you don't know why, but you just get this immediate impulse to get back up again and move somewhere else? And you don't want to offend the person you've just sat down beside. You haven't even had a word with them, but you know it's just something. And that's your vibration. That's your energy saying,
Mm.
no, I don't like this frequency here.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah.
You walk
I,
into a bar sometimes and you get it. Turn and walk back out again. Don't force yourself into a space that is not right for you. That's what causes the dis-ease, which leads to disease.
oh, that's nice, Nila.
Mm.
I'm going to steal that with pride as well. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I'm sure, like over these years in your career, and the variation of your career, you must have you'd either sat on a panel or you've been a candidate. But
Hmm.
there has to be these things, these red flags. If you were on the panel yourself, that if someone walked in, you went, "Oh no, 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 definitely not." And they didn't even have to open their mouth, or they did open their mouth, and that was one of the red flags. So, what would your top three be? Do you think?
Of red flags.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things for me would be that this person literally is nearly acting like the CEO of the company,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going for a position that's way down the line. They're
Okay.
too confident, too
Oh,
cocky. They're they're trying too hard, basically. But they're also the type of person who will not be told. Does that make sense? They're the type of
yes.
person on a team who won't be the team player. They're the type of person who is going to take over that team, even though that's not going to be their role.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That person would often raise a flag for me. Even and they could be the person with the best qualifications and everything else. And I'm looking saying, not going to be a team player, not going to fit into this group.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would be saying.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the other person who maybe has been sitting in the job, and I've experienced this one myself, and then they go for a formal job, but they're assuming that everybody in the room is just going to take what they know about them before they even start speaking
Mm.
as okay, that's given. And so we're just really here for a chat. That
Okay.
doesn't happen anymore. It might have happened somewhere way back in the past, but it doesn't happen anymore on interview panels. In any job, you have to show up to the interview and perform the best that you can. Don't be complacent. Pretend you don't know the people in front of you.
Great advice.
Hmm.
Great advice. And what's your third one, Nuala?
I would have to say it's the other person. You shake their hand and it's a watery handshake. I'm sorry, I'm very big on this. That speaks authenticity straight away. It tells me you're showing up and you're here. Now, I don't want the hand shook off me, but I want a good hand grip. See the person who just literally hardly holds your hand and just
Okay.
puts it back down again.
I thought you meant like a sweaty palm, but
No,
I
no,
get, I
no,
get
no,
what you
no.
mean. I get what you
No,
mean.
no. It's
It's
not a
sort.
sweaty palm because nerves are nerves.
Yeah.
It's the person who lets you know in every part of them that they're here, or
Mm.
as you said earlier, who's not really here, who doesn't know if they can do this job. Like you said, they don't have belief in themselves. If they're not putting themselves strongly and firmly in front of you, even in a handshake, even in the eye contact and the nod, the body language speaks or doesn't speak, as the case may
Mm.
be. And
Mm.
again, it's a bit like the person who wants to be the CEO and they're coming in for a job at the bottom rung. It's the
Mm.
same sort of thing.
That'll be the one that squeezes the hand off you.
They would, but yeah. And the other person then is the person who hardly touches your hand. And
Yeah.
it's wishy watery. And nowadays though, isn't there a challenge in that even too? Because we have to be careful in judging somebody by the hand they shake or the
Yeah.
way they handshake, because there could be other reasons. But my
Yeah.
hope would be that what happens in the interview will either confirm what I'm thinking
Mm.
or deny it.
Mm.
Do you
But I'm
know?
a great believer in why, if you can, why do you not set yourself up for success?
Oh,
Why do you
absolutely.
not shake that hand if it's not even the normal way you would do it? Why would you not shake that hand a little bit more firmly or a little less firmly, depending on the on how you shake it normally?
With intent is what I say, with feeling,
Yeah.
you know? And you said the words set yourself up for success. I'm big on that. And I talk about success as being a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in the vibration of stress, it's very hard to tune yourself to the vibration of success. Very hard. So we have to get ourselves out of the vibration of stress and into the vibration of success. And that can be our thoughts and our actions and our words. So, like, for example, you're going for an interview. How do you put yourself into the vibration of success? And if you're focusing on doing that, even as you're going to the interview, you have very little time to even be thinking about being stressed.
Correct. That's it. Because you're here in the moment.
Mm,
And stress and
yeah,
anxiety lives in the future. And it's hard to be in there if you're here in the moment.
absolutely. Or it's coming from your past when you're
Yeah.
overstressed, do you know? But you're right. It is being in the present, right now,
Yeah.
right here, and
Yeah.
focusing on what you want to focus on, not what you don't want. Because when you focus, the law of attraction, the energy, the universe doesn't get that you don't want it. It's what you're focusing on, and so they're going to give it to you.
And I'm smiling for the listeners that can't see. I'm smiling because I too believe in that. As I
Mm,
come from an NLP background, I believe in the positive over the negative because from all of the research shows that our brains and our minds can't actually recognize the negative. And what I mean by that is when I say to you, I don't want you to think of a red balloon,
mm,
the first thing you'll think of is a red balloon.
absolutely.
So why do we do that? Why do we not use that behavior, change that up, flip it over, change it on its head, and go, I want to think of a blue balloon. So we will think of a blue balloon instead of that red.
Mm.
So it's about those words, isn't it? And it's about having that intention
Absolutely.
to set yourself up for success. Now, we've come to the stage of the show now where we have a little quick fire round.
Okay.
Okay, so
Take a deep breath.
this is literally a question. Then you have three options of an answer. It's either a yes, a no, or a maybe. Sorry, a yes, a no, or a pass.
Okay.
We had to change the maybe to a pass. Okay, you ready?
Go for it.
Is it acceptable to wear pajama bottoms to a Zoom interview?
Yes.
Is it okay to bribe the interviewer?
No.
Is it wise to ask the interviewer for a selfie together at the end?
No.
Should a candidate smile during the interview?
Yes.
Should you answer the
Appropriately.
first?
Sorry. I'm
Sorry?
not gonna you don't want anything else. I said appropriately. Smile appropriately.
Should you answer the first question with a dramatic pause for effect?
No.
Should women wear high heels to an interview?
Don't know.
Pass.
Pass.
Is it acceptable to ask the interviewer how much they make?
No.
Should you high five the interviewer at the end?
No.
Should a candidate swear during an interview?
Absolutely not.
And the last one, is it acceptable to bring your mum to the interview for moral support?
Into the room or outside the room?
To the interview. How you translate that, it's up to you.
Well, if they're sitting outside, yes. If you mean into the room, no.
Okay. No, that's the question's over. How was that?
That was okay. Yeah.
A bit
Very
weird?
interesting questions. Yeah, because some of them you'd want to, like, for example, the high heels. My immediate reaction was, in the name of God, Kevin, where are you taking that one from?
Well, Nuala, I will explain all. Every one of those questions I have been asked by a client.
Wow.
Every one of them. That's why I ask these questions. Is to show that depth of knowledge when it comes to interviewing. Now,
Mm.
this is not a 17-year-old student going for a first job. These are people going for high level exec jobs and everything in between. So
I'm
yes,
sort of
those are questions.
speechless. I'm speechless when I think of that one, the heels one, because I would hate to think that a woman wearing heels or not wearing heels, like even to be thinking that way, where do they see the organization that they're trying to step up into if it's at a high exec level?
Mm-hmm.
And if they're thinking that that makes a difference, that, whether you're wearing heels or not heels, I mean, you're dressed appropriately for the interview and you're comfortable but appropriate. Because if you're not comfortable and you're in heels that are too high and you go to get up and you're nervous and you go over on the heel, what does that look like? Number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
But if you are somebody who's comfortable in heels, why wouldn't you wear heels?
It's quite a divisive question, isn't it?
It makes me think. I again think of the person who's asking the question and why
Well,
they're asking the question, and where they see where they're going, and is that the right place for them if they think they have to do that to fit in?
indeed. But unfortunately, Nuala, there are industries, and it's almost an unspoken expectation.
Oh wow.
It's the
Oh
same
wow.
as a guy must wear a suit to a
Mm,
certain job. And there is that expectation. It's not even that you can turn up in a pair of tracksuit bottoms and a hoodie.
yeah.
There is an expectation that if you're a guy, you'll be in a suit. So it's
Okay.
a bit of both, isn't it? It works negatively for all genders as such.
Yeah, it's well, like, I mean, as I said, I look at appropriate dress. So if you're going for a formal interview in a formal situation, you wear formal wear,
Yeah.
as in, like whether that's a
Hmm.
suit or a dress, whatever you want to, but it's respecting what you're going for.
Yeah.
Like, you don't show up to an interview at the bank in a hoodie,
Yeah. Yeah.
but you might show up to an interview in a software company in a hoodie if that's the dress of the group.
Correct. Correct. And what I always say is if there's ways of looking and finding all of this information out. You can contact the HR department just to ask what the dress code is. You can go onto their social media, look at how people are dressed. And what I would always suggest is dress one level above that. As you know, we always have different levels of dress.
Absolutely.
So look at what you can see and then dress one level above.
And it shows that you're pushing yourself.
Yeah. It also shows that you've done your research.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to be said. And I know that some people nowadays say, oh, it doesn't matter what people wear as long as they can do the job. But there is still a very unconscious bias behind that.
And
And
it depends on the company. There are some companies who say that. A lot of American corporations would be sort of on that line.
Yeah.
But that's not, I would hate to think that I would go for an interview in a school if I ever went back to school, wearing a hoodie.
You're a very cool teacher rocking up with your hoodie on there.
But what does it say to the interview system and the process and respecting that? It's not that I am dressing to please at one level, but I'm also showing that I respect this process by, as you said, doing the research, knowing what's expected, and then going just that little bit more than that. Not a lot, but just a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As I say, these questions have been asked to me probably once a week, and it doesn't surprise me anymore. Let's be completely honest, but it does still make me question the education that people are receiving around this in schools beforehand, which I do go to a lot of schools, do a lot of workshops, do a lot of talks, and it has stopped shocking me. It has stopped shocking me the level of these students now. Like everything in life, some are so much better than others. However, if we wanted to give some equity here, everybody needs to be brought up to that level to give them an opportunity to get into a role that they really want or start a business that they really want to start. However, that's not always the case.
No.
Some schools are better at it than others. Some schools have a bigger budget or no budget. So that's all. And I'll not say that's the school's fault.
If I got a little bit cynical about it, from what I observed down here, and this is not everybody, but I am noting that most parents, if they want their child to get a good counselor in relation to what's the next step, even for college, even for looking ahead of that, they tend to take their kids privately. Even though the people who are running the private groups or the private work or the private options are actually teaching in a school.
Yeah.
So I wonder about what teachers are putting into what they're giving to the kids in the daytime, and they're putting more into what they're doing in the evening time. I would say get out of school. Just go do your evening job, because that's not fair. That's me coming in the justice side of things and the integrity side of things and the ethics. Because as you said, you can actually, I probably could count on one hand the counselors or the people I've heard say there's a really good careers counselor in such and such a school. There's a really good in such and such a school. Most of them go privately to the person who's teaching in one of the schools in the area who's the really good.
Yeah. Yeah. You may be right. Maybe they should go out on their own, start their own business and help more people that way. Give everybody that option. And I suppose when you say, you have to go privately, it's not giving everybody the option, it's giving people who can afford it.
No, it's not. But that's my thing as well. Like, be a really good careers counselor in school.
Yeah.
And get your reputation that way.
Yeah.
Rather than giving nothing really in school to these kids and expecting them to come and pay you privately.
Yeah.
For what you should have given them in school.
This is a very different conversation. We could be going down on this one.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm gonna have to rein you in, even though you're a teacher and have a lot more knowledge and experience around that area than I do. I'm gonna have to rein you in because we're actually here to hear about your worst interview ever.
Oh.
And this is where we're at in this show. So Nuala, over to you. Let's hear about your worst interview ever.
I really don't have that many interviews under my belt. Well, That's not true. I suppose if I look at them, I had lots of interviews. Even getting into religious life, and that there was an interview. There was an
Oh.
interview getting out of religious life. A couple of them. Yeah. But the worst interview actually was going for a job, just what I talked about earlier, going for a job that I was already in. And it was my first year out teaching. I was teaching in a school on the outskirts of Belfast, primary school, and had gone into the school to teach. They couldn't get somebody to teach. I can't remember. There was somebody out ill. I can't. There was some reason that I'd specifically been asked to go into this school. And then I went for the job. The job came up the next year. The person retired, and I didn't get the job.
Hmm.
And I thought I did quite a good interview. But the principal came up to me afterwards to tell me that I didn't get the job. And she said, "You were talking to us as if we were still in the staff room."
Mm.
And the bell just rang off. I had assumed that they knew everything already.
Okay.
And so, why are they asking me these questions? Nerves got in the way, I would say that as well. Lack of experience was my first
Mm.
year out. And I was gutted. I didn't get the job. So I was in a temporary contract, and at the end of the year, I went looking for other jobs. I didn't stay in the temporary contract. I decided to go, and I went to another school, and I had loads of interviews. And what I found was the interview that I was most relaxed in was the interview I got.
Oh.
hmm Now, I didn't know the people, and so I wasn't assuming. And at this point, I'd done 5 or 6 interviews, and I probably had it. But I think what I mean by that is I was more invested in the ones that were physically located closer to me
Okay.
geographically, and felt afterwards I possibly tried too hard. Whereas the job that I got was the job that wasn't physically located geographically close to me. And and so I was thinking, well, I don't really want this job.
So you relaxed.
I totally relaxed.
Okay.
And I'd had the experience of the other jobs, but I had the experience of that first job of being too complacent, being ignorant really of the process. Because as
Mm.
I said, this was my first interview. I had a sort of an interview for the job, but I hadn't really, because they were really stuck for a teacher.
Mhm.
And it was through somebody that I ended up in that position. The principal at school was looking for a teacher, couldn't find a teacher anywhere, and then somebody said, well, I know somebody who's just qualified,
Yeah.
and in I went into the job. Then the job came up, went for the job, and fell flat on my face.
Well, I'm sure there was lots and lots of lessons learned there, Nuala.
Oh, when I finally picked myself up, I was so disappointed I didn't get that job. I loved the school, and in saying that, the person who did get the job was equally as qualified
Mm.
and brought a lot to the school. So when I finally was able to get past it, I was okay. But there was something in me that felt, no, I'm not staying here. There was still that bit in me, even though I realized what they were saying, that maybe I was too complacent, etc., etc. There was another part of me that was a taste in the mouth,
Yeah.
and it was like, no, moving on. When the end of the year comes, I'll be moving on.
And that's
Yeah,
you being your authentic self there and true to
absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I needed to get the taste. I needed the taste out of my mouth. I needed
Yeah.
to know that I was going somewhere where I was ready, right for the job and able for the job. And I had the sense that I wasn't right or able, even though I was still in the school up until the end of the year, I didn't feel I was right or able for that job
Yeah. So,
because I
Nuala,
didn't.
out of that experience, what one piece of advice would you give to anybody going for that type of interview?
Don't assume. Don't be complacent. Be relaxed, but pretend you don't know the people over the table. And that can be really difficult when you're going for a job in an organization where you have been already working. But remember, they also know you.
Mm.
So don't try and say something that's not true. Now, I didn't do that. I was very much myself, but I didn't say enough of what I was doing. Let's put it like that,
Hmm.
or what I was giving. I was assuming they knew everything that I was giving.
Yeah.
So I didn't
And
sell myself.
I do hear that quite a lot, especially
Yeah.
for internal candidates.
Yeah.
That's almost a fear that they know them,
Mm,
but it's also an assumption that when they will come to me and they go, well, sure, they know what I do anyway. Why do I need to explain that?
mm.
And it's exactly what you just said. Assume nothing. You look at them as if they are brand new and you've just walked into a new environment and you explain everything. You
Mm.
explain to them as if you're explaining it to your granny who's just asked you a question about what you do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And remember, those people are sitting opposite you, and there might be 3 or 4 people internally going for this job, and they know all of you. But
Yeah.
they also have a sheet in front of them that has boxes that need to be checked and marks that are, there's a whole process to interviewing. And while there is the personal touch and the over and aboveness, everybody's looking for something specific, and you need to make sure you're giving it to them. And they've told you what they want in the job spec.
Mm-hmm.
They've told you what you want, what they want, and they've told you how they want it if you read it carefully enough. And
It is very true.
yeah, and so show up and give them what they want, how they want it, in your best self. And if you feel you're not being your best self in doing that, and that you're trying to be something you're not, that's going to come out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it comes out when you get into the job if you're
Yeah.
successful, because what inevitably happens is you can't pretend to be somebody else. You can't keep up that charade for a long time, and your true authentic self will eventually come out. And
Yes.
it's not the right fit for that organization, because if you had to be somebody else to get the job,
Yes.
then they expect that somebody else turning up every day. And when you turn up
Yes.
every day, there's a little bit of a disconnect and
Absolutely.
almost a distrust to a point.
And Kevin, if I may say, you put yourself under a lot of stress to be
Yeah.
something you're not.
Yeah.
And that in itself is a stress energy. And that in itself will tap into you feeling you're not worthy and you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And that whole sabotage cycle
Hmm.
and all of those scripts and all of those cliched words that people use around that, that's all going to be playing itself out because you have set yourself up to fail by not being your true self. And if you
Absolutely.
genuinely don't think what you have, what they want, if you genuinely think I don't have this right now, but I will get it, well then okay, say that to them. Say that to them. One of the things I note in your job spec is that you offer on-site training for this job, which will really suit me because while I have what you need, I know I'm going to get what the extra little bit that you want from your on-site training, from your
Yeah.
induction. And when you're honest about that and you say it that way, you've literally told them, I'm going to do what you want me to do.
Yeah. It's hard to say no to a candidate like that.
Absolutely, because they've been totally honest with you. And they've told you that they're willing to go the extra mile to give the extra bit that you don't have.
You see, Nuala, I'm a great believer in how you do something is how you do everything.
Oh, yeah.
And if that person, a candidate sitting there as being authentic, integral, and honest and saying, listen, I don't really have this. I meet all of the other criteria. I don't have this, but I will.
Mm,
But I will. If that's what needs, I will have that. I'm sitting
yeah.
looking at them thinking, if that person makes a mistake, they're going to come over and say, listen, I made a mistake. How do
Mm,
we sort this out? Instead of the person who has bluffed their way through the interview and doesn't then want to make any mistakes, but inevitably, like any human being, makes the mistake and then hides it.
I'll give you this person didn't totally hide it, they couldn't hide it. But a friend of mine went for an interview, had spent a long time in America working as like a building organization within a construction sector, what was like the office manager, but for lots of things, but had no real qualification in anything in America. It was a
Mm.
family business. Came back to Ireland and decided he was going to get into that field again. So went for an interview. And the place that he got the interview with, nearly the first place because of all the experience he had, said, we like you because we know you've all this experience, and we know we need to train you up in X, Y, and Z, and we will do that. The training wasn't suffice. It was on the job training. and he thought he knew what he was doing. Instead of
Mm.
saying, actually, no, don't leave me to do this on my own, and a Friday afternoon, nobody else there, and he clicked the button that sent information out to the customer,
Oh.
all users, not just within the company.
Oh.
Oh, yes. Needless to say, that was the end of that job. And
Yeah.
he kicked himself because it was geographically close to him. It was going to give him so much on the job learning. But he should have said, no, I won't do this on my own. I'm not long enough into the job. I need somebody to
Mhm.
check this and somebody else to hit the button until I'm ready to hit the button.
Yeah, I think as well, not to give him the full blame for that. The organization needs to take some of
Oh,
that
yeah.
responsibility, because I'm a great believer in communication and how communication lands, and how the communication lands is from the communicator. It is not from the receiver. And what I mean by that is, if I'm giving you an instruction, it is my responsibility as the person giving that instruction to verify you understand it,
Yes.
or to make sure it lands with you. And if that's a simple way of saying to them, listen, I've just explained how we do this. Can you tell me back in your own words what it is we want to achieve, or what I would like you to do? That's it. So there's definitely a lot of responsibility there on that organization and business.
Oh, absolutely. And I think they need to go a step further though when it comes to actually clicking a button to send something out, etc., etc. There should be a very clear process in front of somebody in black and
Mm.
white until they get it, that they don't need to look at the process, but it needs to be first, second, third, fourth. Make sure this box is clicked, that box is not clicked, da 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 da. Off you go.
Mm.
Policies and procedures, everything is there in a handbook. There it is for when we're not beside you. But equally, he could have left it to Monday. Like he knew that himself. He could have left it to Monday morning. He thought he would clear it all off the desk on a Friday evening. He was a big boy now. He'd got into the job. He whatever, whatever. And again, didn't realize what he'd done.
Mm. Sometimes the ego
Yes.
takes us on a ride that we can't really come back from, unfortunately. And that was one
Yeah.
of those times the ego got the better of him. And I
Yeah.
suppose
Oh, he
that's
learned he
another,
learned a big lesson there, so he did.
yeah, that I was going to say, that is another lesson that all the listeners can take from that story is, if you're not sure, just ask.
And
If
don't push
you're
the button.
don't
Do
don't
not
push the button.
do not push the button. Don't push the button. We were on holiday one time and we came across this thing. I think it was in America, and literally that's what it said on it. Don't push the button. And when you push the button, it said, "I told you not to push the button. Don't push the button." We said, "Don't push the button."
But that's it, isn't it? It's like when you're told not to do something, it's almost like, I really want to do that now. I really
Yeah.
want to do that now. And I think I've learned that with my children over the
Yeah.
years as being a parent. It's not
Yeah.
that I don't tell them to do anything. No, I sort of recommend they do something else. And I
Yes.
suppose it's the same
Reverse
way.
psychology.
It's the same way. It's the same way we discussed about the motivations, the way we speak, as in we speak about what we want, not what we don't want.
Exactly where your focus is. And equally, it's okay to say in a new role, in a new job, I'm just not comfortable enough with this. I'm just not confident enough with this yet. I still need supervision for a little while longer.
Yeah.
Just look through my process, make sure it's okay, and just check if all the right boxes ticked.
Yeah. But I think if you're
That's
getting the
all.
if you're getting the 6 months and you're still asking those questions, and it's a route
Oh,
that you're
move
doing
on.
all the time, I think there's a bigger challenge there than what you think. Nula,
Oh, absolutely.
this has been absolutely fantastic today. The listeners are most definitely going to take so much from this. The
Mhm.
stories you have told, even the way you delivered the stories, have been really impactful for me alone. I have learned so much today. And there's three real takeaways I want everybody to go away with from what we've talked about. The body language speaks volumes. You said that
Oh,
the body language speaks volumes, or it doesn't speak anything. And it's that limpness of the handshake, or the overbearing squeeze of that overconfident person. There is a little method called the Goldilocks effect, where it's the
oh
just
yeah.
right. It's just right. That alone takes a little bit of practice. So it could be practicing that before you go in. The eye contact as well, getting a bit of eye contact. Have the courage to be yourself during the interview. Wow. If more people turned up as themselves, business would be very different for a positive reason, because there would be so many people who would not even bother turning up to the job. So there was so much time saved, so much money saved, because there's so much time saved, and the right person would get the right job. So they would stay longer as well. But the one I liked the most was, and okay, this may not completely relate to the interview, but we could potentially relate it to it, and it was, stay with the darkness because the light will come. And if I would want to put that into the context of the interview process, the average amount of times you go for interviews is in the 20s and 30s before you even get one job offer. Those are dark moments for people. Those are people are thinking they're not good enough, because that's what the process is telling them, or they're not skillful enough, or they're not wanted. And that is the darkness. And that one person or that group of people or that organization that will take that punt on them, that's the light. And I absolutely love the way you said that. Stay with the darkness because the light will come. Nuala, thank you very much for today. As I said, if our listeners wanted to reach you, where could they reach you?
On social media, it's, well, Instagram and Facebook, it's at Retuning Me. I think on LinkedIn, it's Nuala O'Connor. That's where you'll get me, Retuning Me. Retuning Me is my theme, I suppose. And my website is retuningme.com.
Okay, and that's retuningme.com.
That's it.
Nuala, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Great talking to you, Kevin, and best of luck.
Thank you.
For more details about our guest, or if you would like to be a guest, go to www.interviewskillscoach.co.uk/my-worst-interview-ever, or find us on Facebook or LinkedIn. And remember, on the other side of a successful interview is the life you deserve.